Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnu Paramhamsa Parivajagacharya Ashtotra Shuddha Shri Srimadbhagavatam Sesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Paramhamsa Parivajagacharya Ashtotra Shuddha Shri Srimadbhagavatam Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gauda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Kapakupana Shamakun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. You think you could grab that mat? This one? That mat? You could just bring it here. You could put it right here. Okay. Okay, so today is holy appearance of one particular devotee. His name is SriPurushottamaDasaThakura. Very short biography, so we'll read about him. Sri Purushottam Das constantly meditated on and served the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. So that's what we could learn from him. That he constantly meditated on and served the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. Kanu Thakur, his son, was such an exalted devotee that Lord Krishna always lived in his body. When Kanu was 5, Ma Janava, so that's Lord Nityananda's wife, took him to Vrindavan. The Goswamis joyously greeted him upon seeing his genuine devotion. In Goloka Vrindavan, Purushottam Das SriPurushottamaDasaThakura serves Lord Balaram as a cowherd boy. Dasa Gopal. So, yeah, that's it. His samadhi is located in the 64 samadhis area. SriPurushottamaDasaThakura ki jai. Okay, so now we'll read the Bhagavatam. And fourth canto, creation of the fourth order, chapter 22. Prithu Maharaja's meeting with the Kumaras. We're on text 39. We don't have a board. We don't have a verse on the board, so it looks like devotees have phones or books. Yeah, what is it? Yeah, phone book. Yeah, phone book, book phone. Yat pada pankaja palasha vilasa bhaktya. Okay, sorry. Do you have it? You have it? Okay. Okay. Karma shayam gratitam udgratayanti santaha tadvanno rikta matayo yatayo pirudha shoto ganastamaranam bhajavasudevam yat pada pankaja palasha vilasa bhaktya karma shayam gratitam udgratayanti santaha tadvanna rikta matayo yatayo pirudha sroto gunastamaranam bhajavasudevam yat pada pankaja palasha vilasa bhaktya karma shayam gratitam adgantayanti santaha tadvanna rikta matayo yatayo pirudha shoto ganastamaranam bhajavasudevam yat pada pankaja palasha vilasa bhaktya karma shayam gratitam udgratayanti santaha tadvanna rikta matayo yatayo pirudha Sroto ganastamaranam bhajana vasudevam. Shuti Kirti, Prabhupada would call him Shuto, Shuto, I think. He's joking, affectionately. Shuto, Shuti Kirti. He said Shuti Kirti, Prabhupada said Shuti Kirti, that name's too long, that's what Prabhupada said. And he said, from now on, I'm going to call you Shuto. Something like that. Shuto. Shuti Kirti. Shuti Kirti, no, Kirti means like fame. I'm not sure what Shuti, but Shuti Kirti. I'm not sure what his name is referring to, but Prabhupada said it's too long, I'm going to call you Shuto. Anyways. He called, Shuti Kirti said Prabhupada called him that a few times, and then he just continued to call him Shuti Kirti. So. All right, so this is word by word. Yat, whose? Pada, feet. Pankaja, lotus. Palasha, petals or toes. Vilasa, enjoyment. Bhaktya, by devotional service. Karma, fruit of activities. Ashayam, desire. Gratitam, hard knot. Udgratayanti, root out. Santaha, devotees. Tat, that. Vat, like. Na, never. Vidakta matayaha, persons devoid of devotional service. Yatayaha, ever increasingly trying. Api, even though. Urudha, stopped. Shota ganaha, the waves of sense enjoyment. Tam, unto him. Paranam, worthy to take shelter. Bhaja, engage in devotional service. Vasudevam, unto Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. Translation. The devotees who are always engaged in the service of the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord can very easily overcome hard-knotted desires for fruitive activities. Because this is very difficult, the non-devotees, the jnanis and yogis, although trying to stop the waves of sense gratification, cannot do so. Therefore, you are advised to engage in the devotional service of Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. Purport. There are three kinds of transcendentalists trying to overcome the influence of the modes of material nature: the jnanis, yogis, and bhaktas. All of them attempt to overcome the influence of the senses, which is compared to the incessant waves of a river. The waves of a river flow incessantly, and it is very difficult to stop them. Similarly, the waves of desire for material enjoyment are so strong that they cannot be stopped by any process other than bhakti yoga. The bhaktas, by their transcendental devotional service unto the lotus feet of the Lord, become so overwhelmed with transcendental bliss that automatically their desires for material enjoyment stop. The jnanis and yogis, who are not attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, simply struggle against the waves of desire. They are described in this verse as rikta matayaha, which means devoid of devotional service. In other words, the jnanis and yogis, although trying to become free from the desires of material activities, actually become more and more entangled in false philosophical speculation or strenuous attempts to stop the activities of the senses, as stated previously. Vasudeve Bhagavate Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayat Ashuvairagyam Jnanam Chadhyadahoitakam. Bhagavatam, chapter 1, Canto 1, chapter 2, text 7. Here also the same point is stressed. Bhaja Vasudevam indicates that one who is engaged in the loving service of Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, can very easily stop the waves of desires. As long as one continues to try to artificially stop the waves of desires, he will certainly be defeated. That is indicated in this verse. Desires for fruitive activities are strongly rooted, but the trees of desires can be uprooted completely by devotional service because devotional service employs superior desire. One can give up inferior desires when engaged in superior desires. To try to stop desires is impossible. One has to desire the supreme in order not to be entangled in inferior desires. Jnanis maintain a desire to become one with the supreme, but such desire is also considered to be kama, lust. Similarly, the yogis desire mystic power, and that is also kama. And the bhaktas, not being desirous of any sort of material enjoyment, become purified. There is no artificial attempt to stop desire. desire becomes a source of spiritual enjoyment under the protection of the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord. It is stated herein by the Kumaras that the lotus feet of Lord Krishna are the ultimate reservoir of all pleasure. One should therefore take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord instead of trying unsuccessfully to stop desires for material enjoyment. As long as one is unable to stop the desire for material enjoyment, there is no possibility of becoming liberated from the entanglement of material existence. It may be argued that the waves of a river are incessantly flowing and that they cannot be stopped. But the waves of a river flow toward the sea. When the tide comes over the river, it overwhelms the flowing of the river, and the river itself becomes overflooded. And the waves from the sea become more prominent than the waves from the river. Similarly, a devotee with intelligence plans so many things for the service of the Lord in Krishna consciousness that stagnate material desires become overflooded by the desire to serve the Lord. As confirmed by Yamuna Acharya, since he has been engaged in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord, there's always a current of newer and newer desires flowing to serve the Lord, so much so that the stagnant desire of sex life becomes very insignificant. Yamunacharya even says that he spits on such desires. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 59, also confirms, Param Dushtva Nivartate. The conclusion is that by developing a loving desire for the service of the lotus feet of the Lord, we subdue all material desires for sense gratification. Om Gyaditapadandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshulan Maditamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karitavachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinitadanam Vancha Kapadaribhishta Kripa Sindhu Bevicha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhupada Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, read the translation again. The devotees who are always engaged in the service of the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord can very easily overcome hard-knotted desires for fruitive activities. Because this is very difficult, the non-devotees, the jnanis and yogis, although trying to stop the waves of sense gratification, cannot do so. Therefore, you are advised to engage in the devotional service of Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. So this verse, it's a very famous verse. Of course, all the verses of the Bhagavatam are famous, but there's certain verses within the Bhagavatam that are quoted often by our acharyas, by Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya, and previous acharyas. So this is one of those verses. And it is, you could say, like a, it's not just a key, but there's such a thing, it's called master key. So, for example, there's so many doors in this building, and every door has a particular key, right? But there may be one key that opens all the doors of this building. That opens all the doors of this building. So similar to this verse, it's you could say master key in the sense that it opens up all the doors that we want open. Or that we should want open. And you could say that's doors to, the doors to liberation, the doors to us being happy in Krishna consciousness, the doors to us being successful. Yeah, so many. the doors to us being successful in spreading Krishna consciousness. This is the key here, this particular verse. And why is that? Because one, if one is a devotee or one is aspiring devotee, or whatever particular level one may be on in Krishna consciousness, the ultimate goal is, to please Krishna, to go back to the spiritual world for Krishna's pleasure, and so many other things you could say in the before that, like, for example, spreading Krishna consciousness. So, but in order to stay in Krishna consciousness, one has to be relishing the bliss of Krishna consciousness, or one won't be able to stay. It means one won't be able to stay in the association of devotees. And of course, there's been so many devotees throughout history who have unfortunately left the association of devotees. And why? Is because somehow or other they weren't able to access what this verse is talking about, and that is the superior pleasure, the superior happiness of Krishna consciousness. And why do I say it's the verse? It's the master key. It opened up so many doors in terms of us being successful. Also, specifically in relation to preaching, because if one is happy or satisfied, or what to speak of in complete ecstasy, then when trying to give Krishna consciousness to others, it's more effective. It's a lot more effective. Just like Bhajanarayan Swami was saying this morning, he was saying that, throughout the years he asked devotees, which is, I thought it was a pretty clever move on his part, but he says when people pick him up, from the airport, because Tirthamaj told me this too. He said, you're traveling here, there, you're going from temple to temple, and in each temple they pick you up at the airport, and there might be a long drive, 30 minutes, an hour, who knows, right? So sometimes they want to ask you a lot of questions. Maharaj, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And what do you think about this in the books? And Tirthamaj said sometimes it's difficult because, you get off this long flight and you have somebody, it's like a stream of questions. So, but he said, it's a service and I have to reciprocate. But I thought it was clever, and I don't know exactly why he does it. I don't know if it's for this particular reason I'm bringing up, but he lets them talk. And he asks them a question. How did you become a devotee? Because in this way, you're not getting a stream of questions directed towards you. You just got off a 20-hour flight or whatever, but you are directing towards him. How did you become a devotee? And then they tell you their whole story, right? And it keeps them awake and enlivened. So, anyways, he was saying that he was asking a particular devotee how he was asking different devotees throughout the years how to become devotee, and a lot of the people, they say, someone came to my class and they spoke to me, or they spoke to my classroom, and then I became interested on that basis. And Maharaj made the point that when devotees go to people's classrooms at the colleges, different colleges throughout the world, people may be attracted by different things. Like they may see the devotees, they have a little kirtan, nice kirtan, there's nice music, they become attracted to come to the temple. Or it may be that they look at the devotees and say, these people are happy. And everybody else doesn't seem that happy, but these people actually seem happy. So I'm going to check it out. So what I'm saying is that that's the best advertisement. And we are into advertising. We're very much. That's what Srila Prabhupada came to America. Srila Prabhupada went over the world. What was he doing? He was just on a big campaign, right? Big Krishna campaign all throughout the world, advertising Krishna. So that's one of the best ways in which we can represent Krishna and try to bring people to Krishna consciousness is by experiencing the bliss of Krishna consciousness. And how do we do that? It's saying here that those who are always engaged in the service of the toes of the lotus feet can easily overcome hard-knotted desires for fruitive activities. So the waves of sense gratification, So in other words, the desires for sense gratification can be overcome by becoming Krishna conscious. And the more we're Krishna conscious, the more we're able to overcome those desires. And practically all devotees know this. All devotees know this. And when I say all devotees, I mean unless someone's really out of it, or unless someone's like really new, they don't know this. But practically everybody else knows this. And if they don't know this, and if they've been around for a while and they don't know this, there's a problem. They're not hearing properly, they're not reading, they're not getting it. Because this is a very basic principle that by Krishna consciousness, by the bliss of Krishna consciousness, it trumps all of the desires for material enjoyment in this world. So everybody knows this, practically speaking, but is everybody able to actually live up to it? Or is everybody able to follow it? That's another story. Because even though we may know things, we may not be able to follow them. Just like people know, I do A, B, C, and D, it's going to be good for me. It's going to be good for the world. It's going to be good for my humanity, whatever. Good for my community. But they don't do B, they don't do C, they don't do D. And sometimes I do A, if they feel like it, if they're in the mood. So, and why is that? It's because of weakness of heart. Specifically, you could say the moral conviction, the moral fiber is weak, and it cannot. It doesn't allow one to do what they should be doing, and that's the problem. And again, it's not that it's like black or white. I mean, sometimes devotees are able to just really dive into Krishna consciousness and completely transcend all material desires completely. And sometimes it's 75%, 50%, 25%, 10%. And sometimes it's all the time, sometimes it's sometimes. So, people are going back and forth with their desires. So whatever the case is, if we have all completely transcended all these material desires, okay, great. But even if we have, or even if we think we have, still, you could say, the humility of a bhakti practitioner is that they always feel that they could be attacked at any moment by the material energy and fall away. So in other words, they never think, I'm safe. I've made it. Right? I'm here in the spiritual world. I made it. They're always humble and think, like Prabhupada, right? Praying, Krishna, I don't fall down. So whether we completely transcended or transcended to whatever degree, the idea is that, I'm just losing my train of thought, sorry. The idea is that, the moral fiber. So we want to strengthen that. We want to strengthen that. And that's very important. Because by doing the things that we need to do that like I said, all devotees know they should be doing to experience this higher taste, we'll get closer to it. And we'll get closer to fulfilling what, the whole purpose, why Srila Prabhupada came to America, why the Hare Krishna movement exists. It exists to make individuals pure devotees of Krishna. That's why it exists. It doesn't exist for this reason, that reason, this reason, that reason, so many different reasons. It exists to make people devotees of Krishna, pure devotees of Krishna. So we'll be fulfilling that desire of Srila Prabhupada and all the acharyas. But, we need to gradually strengthen that conviction, that moral fiber, that to do the things that we need to do, that we know we should do. And therefore, there's an example that Prabhupada gave. He said there's like a dam or a, what's another word for it? Anyways, a dam will do the job. There's a big dam, right? And what is the purpose of the dam? It's many purposes, but one of the purposes is that for whatever reason, it's holding the water from flowing, right? Big dam, it's holding the water on this side from flowing. And you see, whatever, there's some movie or something or whatever, and there's a big dam, and then all of a sudden somehow there's a leak, and it breaks and floods the whole town, and everybody is flooded out, and so many people die, and so on, right? Or when we were kids, young children, we would, we'd be in the river, and we'd build these rocks like a little dam. We to some degree, keep the water from going to the other side, right? So Srila Prabhupada said that the morning program is like that. It's like a dam that keeps the water from what? You could say that it's like a dam created to keep the water, the waves of sense gratification, the waves of Maya from entering our consciousness. So that's an important point. And morning program is, of course, I know it's a busy world, and everybody has a lot to do, and the demons, sorry to say, but the demons have Asurik Jana have created such a system throughout the world. Everybody has to work very, very hard for what? I don't know what. For some food and roof over your head or something. But I mean, when you really analyze it, how difficult is it to build a house? I mean, my father could build a house. My father's a construction worker. He could build a house in, a few weeks or something, month, if he really, gets a few guys and puts his mind to it. And then people spend their whole life, paying that house off, mortgage. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I know devotees do it and what to do. I mean, we're in, in many ways, we're in Ravana's kingdom. But anyways, it's a strange system. But my point is that they've got everybody working very hard, very busy, just to maintain basic necessities practically. But that's not my main point. But the main point is that even though that's there, devotees have to somehow or other make time. Morning program has to be there. And something, reading, chanting, at least chanting one's rounds, doing something. And ideally there should be some spiritual evening program. And of course we have our Bhagavad Gita classes here. But whatever the case is, Srila Prabhupada wanted those times, the morning and the evening, to be used for spiritual, specifically for direct hearing and chanting and direct service to Krishna. So devotees may not attend attend the evening program for this reason or that reason, but it should be hearing and chanting, direct. That's what Srila Prabhupada advised. Said the ISKCON sandwich, right? I don't know. Did Prabhupada come up with that, or they say Prabhupada? I mean, who knows? I don't really know if Prabhupada came up with that, but it makes sense. You have the bread, the morning program on one side, and then you got the evening program, the other piece of bread, and then in the middle you have your services throughout the day, right? Like the paneer, right? Or so whatever. Or you say tofu if you're vegan, you put tofu. And even though it's quite a simple program, it is extremely powerful. And we should never underestimate the power. Because it is also sometimes devotees quote Prabhupada saying this, but I don't know if he said this either, but it does make sense. But it says Krishna consciousness is so simple that sometimes it'll just go over your head. Go over our heads. It's so simple. So it's very simple, morning, evening program, service throughout the day. But it is extremely powerful. It is the most powerful. The most potent forms of devotional service are in these particular morning and evening program. And ISKCON sandwich, service throughout the day. Like in the morning we're singing to Tulsi, right? So many wonderful prayers to Tulsi Maharani, asking her to allow us to enter into the spiritual world and the groves of Vrindavan and so many wonderful things like that. Very high, most high actually. One devotee said, Tamal Krishna Goswami said that he was speaking with Sridhar Swami, Srila Prabhupada's godbrother. And apparently, Sridhar Swami said that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he didn't introduce that song in the Gaudiya Mat because it was just, he said it was just so high, such a high song, and they didn't have it in their morning program. Somehow the Prabhupada introduced it. So Srila Prabhupada is trying to gear us, towards the spiritual world and, get us enthusiastic about it. And so many of the other aspects of devotional service, they're actually quite elevated. I mean, they're, as Rupa Goswami says, the most potent forms. So this is how we're able to overcome these desires that are not leading us towards Krishna. Right? We have desires that are leading us towards Krishna. We have desires that are not leading us towards Krishna. So we're able to overcome these, you could say, evil desires, materialistic desires, self-centered desires, by relishing that ecstasy which comes from the process of devotional service, loving devotional service, with which the yogis and the jnanis, and they may make some advancement, but on so many occasions they fell. Just like the other day we were talking about Vishwamrita Muni, right? Sabara Muni. He was in the Yamuna, when it used to be very clear. Now, right, messy, dirty, but it used to be very clear, and he was in the Yamuna, meditating, and right. And then he offended Garuda. We told that whole pastime some weeks ago. He offended Garuda somehow. And because of that offense, that's an important thing. Because of that offense, that Vaishnava aparad, he lost his taste. And you could say he got a glimpse of all these, or he got overflooded with these desires. He was in a river, right? He got overflooded with these desires for sense gratification. Why? Just on the basis, he wasn't in some big city where there's, thousands of beautiful women. He wasn't here or there. He was in a river, and it was these two fish. I mean, how attractive are fish? How handsome can a fish be? Right? How beautiful can a fish be? I mean, I'm talking about like sexual. I mean, no, not at all. But he saw these two fish, and they were copulating, mating, copulating. And then he became so agitated, so disturbed, sexually disturbed, on the basis of seeing these two fish. Can you believe it? He did. And then what did he do? He just hopped out of that river, and he, of course, he was all wrinkled up, right, and went to go find some woman, or women. And, first they saw him, and whoa, he was spooked out, right? He was all, I don't want anything to do with you. So then somehow or other he married 100 women, quite a lot, and he fulfilled all those material desires. And many children, this and that, I suspect. And then eventually he came back to his meditation. But it was on the basis of offending the Vaishnava and then letting all these material desires in, just like But on the other hand, we should have Srila Haridas Thakur. Srila Haridas Thakur was tempted by Maya herself. I mean, how more attractive can a female be who is, Maya herself? Most attractive. And aside from that, to begin with, he was tempted by a prostitute. Now, when we say prostitute, it wasn't just some, some old, elderly, old, burnt out, what do you say, like hag or something? Whatever the terminology may be, some burnt out woman or something. No, she was young, and she was attractive, and she was, you could say, one of the maybe most attractive, one of the more attractive one of the bunch. And it wasn't, she wasn't some, kind of a low-class prostitute or something. She was high-class prostitute, very attractive. And she came to Haridas Thakur. And Haridas Thakur was a young man in the dead of night. So she came to Haridas Thakur and, she tried to seduce him in so many ways, flattered him, tried to charm him, and dressed very beautifully, looking very beautifully, famous prostitute throughout this town. And Haridas Thakur, he was chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. So she was trying to seduce him, and then he said, okay. He said, just wait, I'll fulfill your desire, but I have to finish my rounds. I have to finish my rounds. So then he chanted all night, and then in the morning, and then she came back the next night. It happened a few nights like that. I have to finish my. She started getting purified. She started chanting herself, and then she became a devotee, and she became a pure devotee. And Haridas Thakur said, I knew that also she was sent by some envious, right, Ramchandra Khan, some envious person, tried to defame Haridas Thakur. So he said, I knew that you came to tempt me and destroy my reputation, but I wanted to stay here to purify you. So you see that Haridas Thakur, he was able to completely transcend all these desires. Wasn't a problem at all. And that's because he was completely relishing the bliss of Krishna consciousness. And the last thing is that making plans, everybody's making plans. It's a plan-making world, right? We're making plans for the day, plans for the week, plans for the month, plans for the year, plans for 10 years, right? Everybody's making plans. I suspect here everybody has plans. So the idea is that we need to make plans that will help us advance in Krishna consciousness and help others advance. And this is what's being mentioned here. By making plans, one's able to completely transcend all these desires. So many plans could be made. Oh, I'm going to do this for Krishna. I'm going to do that for Krishna. I'm going to arrange this, arrange that. So many different things. Distribute books this way, distribute books that way. I'm going to go on Harinam here, go on Harinam there. I'm going to buy all these gifts and bring them to devotees. I'm going to go to next time I go to India. I'm going to buy this for Radha Giridhari, buy that for Radha Giridhari, and I'm going to fix the temple this way, fix the temple that way. There's so many plans, and by thinking of those and engaging in them, then one's also able to experience that bliss of Krishna consciousness, and the waves of these desires will not overcome one. So, all right. So, does anybody have any questions? Dike? Yes. Yes. Dike. Dam, dike, yes.
And in defense of Sabra
You want to... Now, Sabra Muni, I don't have any defense. But
No, I was going to say in defense of Sabra Muni, this was a different yuga, so all the fish were much more attractive.
Is it?
Well, it's a different yuga. Everyone's more attractive and So.
Yeah, it's like it's extremely telling pastime, this Sabra Muni, because specifically it says that because he had offended Garuda. So and some would say, oh well, I'm not a yogi, so that means I could offend devotees or something, right? I'm a bhakta, so bhakta means I could offend devotees, offend other bhaktas. But also it says that one's Krishna consciousness also, by serving the devotees we actually develop Krishna consciousness, and by not serving them via criticism or unnecessary, undue, harsh, unnecessary criticism or unnecessary, harsh fault finding or whatever, so many different things like that. one loses it, and then if one serves them, one gains it, right? Shushu Shodadanasya, chapter 1, text 2, Canto 1, text 2, Canto 1, chapter 2, text 16. Shushu Shodadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi San Mahatseva Vipra Punya Tirtana Shevanat. So it says, by serving the great devotees who are free from vice, one does great service is done, and one gains a taste for hearing the messages of, Vasudeva, Krishna. So Prabhupada says in the purport that by serving a pure devotee, by serving Prabhupada's mission, other pure devotees, other devotees, then one develops the same quality of those devotees, right? Just like we have the Bhaktivedantas, little, right, young Narada Muni, in his last life, he was serving the Bhaktivedantas very meanly, cooking, cleaning, helping, taking the remnants. Because he was doing that service, he got the quality of the Bhaktivedantas. And what is their main quality? Prabhupada says in the purport, he says it's their attraction to Krishna. So that's the idea. We have to do that versus not offending or, So we want to be in the Narada Muni group, not in the Sabra Muni group. So.
Another thing Prabhupada brings up about Sabra Muni, which is all by himself.
Yeah.
If Mukunda was right next to him, Mukunda could have saved him. Those fish aren't that attractive, even though it's Satya Yoga. I've seen better fish. So he brings that up. You always stay surrounded by devotees and devotee association, but you go off by yourself. You're setting yourself up for problems.
Yes.
So sadhu sangha.
Yes. That's true. Bharat Maharaj too is like that, by himself. All right, last but not least, question or comment?
Sadhu Sangha, devotee association is so important. But sometimes, we can find ourselves in a situation or circumstances that you hear criticism. Someone is criticizing devotees, and it's not justified at all, at least for oneself. It's like, okay, that doesn't make sense to me. But at the same time, you by bringing something up or saying something, it might create so many problems with the other devotee. So sometimes it's hard. You don't want to hear this, you don't want to hear that, but you're not supposed to be hearing this. And so what advice can you give? Because
okay, I have something. Just two simple things. My spiritual master, he would say, he says that somebody starts doing that, like in front of you, criticizing, and you don't think you don't want to hear it, or you say, do you say, hey, Prabhu, or you say, hey, Maharaj, or whatever. You say, I have some rounds to chant. So to finish, which is always true, we always have rounds to chant, right? So I have some rounds to chant. So would you like to chant with me? Or you say, I have some reading to do. So would you like to read with me? And so that's one thing. And if they say no, you say, okay, well, I'm going to go read. See you later. Or I'm going to go chant. See you later. Now, that's one thing. Now, there may be some people that you just need to avoid. Some people you just need to avoid, That's another thing. And the third thing is that's why it's always advised that we seek out more advanced association. Which advanced association means they, just like we're hearing about making plans, right? They're so busy in Krishna consciousness that they don't really have time to unnecessarily be engaged in so many other things, whether it be criticism or so many, billion of other things. So more advanced association is absolutely necessary. Yeah. So that's there too. But of course it's a big subject, and maybe we could continue sometime. All right, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.